Hi, my name is Rachel Gill, also known as Pinky Tuscadero. I'm a DBT peer mentor and a BPD peer advocate. That is, I'm a client who's in DBT and has over 4 years of practice, and I'm in school working towards becoming a therapist. However, please be aware that I'm not a therapist and I'm only meaning to teach you skills from a peer perspective. The information you're receiving is therefore not meant to be a substitute or alternative to professionally qualified mental health services. Well, now that's out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. In this skills training video, we will be learning the DBT interpersonal effectiveness skills. And these include the DEAR skills, which are... Now before we get into the heart of the... Now to prepare for mindfulness, first you want to get seated with your feet flat on the floor. Then you want to find a spot to focus on visually, slightly downward and on one single spot. And as you breathe, you're going to breathe in and out deeply and slowly through your nose. And at the top of your inhale and the bottom of your exhale, pause slightly between the inhales and exhales. Now the mindfulness bell will ring 3 times to start and once to stop. On the next screen, there will be a visual of a sphere showing you how to inhale and exhale. You can use it as a guide or you can just totally ignore it. Now, interpersonal effectiveness skills can be broken down into 3 categories, including objective effectiveness, which refers to the DEAR and the MAN skills, then relationship effectiveness, which refers to the GIVE skills, then self-respect effectiveness, which refers to the FAST skills. So DEAR MAN objective effectiveness skills help you to communicate the facts about a situation non-judgmentally. GIVE relationship effectiveness skills help you to communicate respect for others. And FAST self-respect effectiveness skills help you to communicate respect for yourself. Now, a good way to apply interpersonal effectiveness skills is to create a DEAR MAN GIVE FAST script. You do this by first finding a situation where you need to ask for something that you want or need, and it may be kind of difficult or stressful. Then figure out who you need to ask to get what you want or need, and then whether or not that person can give you what you want or need. Then you want to write your script using each skill to guide you along the way. Lastly, you want to rehearse your script by yourself or with somebody aloud that you trust who is not involved in the situation. And the more that you rehearse your script, the more likely you're to come out with an effective result. Now, in this skills training session, we are going to use the example of asking an employer for a pay raise to create our Dear Man Give Fast script. So let's start with objective effectiveness skills. These include describe, express, assert, and reinforce. So the D in Dear skills stands for describe. Now to describe, you want to briefly describe the nature of the problem that you are asking to discuss with the other person. For example, using the pay scenario, you might say, "Hey boss, I want to talk to you today about an employee pay raise." Now the E in the Dear skills stands for express. Now expressing is about expressing your feelings about the situation. And you want to start with statements that begin with I feel or I am, and avoid statements like you make me feel. So for example, you would want to say I feel angry instead of you make me feel angry. Some examples using the pay scenario are, I'm proud of the work I've done here as an employee, and I enjoy working with my colleagues, and I get along with them as well. The A in Dear skills stands for assert. And you assert by stating what it is as plainly and clearly as simply as you can that you want or need. So, for example, using the pay scenario, you might say, I want you to increase my pay from $10 an hour to $15 an hour starting tomorrow. Now, the thing to keep in mind is you want to be as detailed as possible. Notice how I say that I want $10 to $15 instead of I just want you to give me a raise. And then you say tomorrow as opposed to, I just want a pay raise without stating when you want it to start. Now the R in Dear skills stands for reinforce. Now, in reinforcing, you want to ask, what benefits does the other person receive by giving you what you want or need? Now, using an example of the pay scenario, you might say, you get to keep a valuable employee. Or, you do not have to train someone new if I have to leave for a higher paying job. So looking at an overview of your Dear skills script, you might rehearse it by going over them all together, saying, hey boss, I want to talk to you today about an employee pay raise. I'm really proud of the work I've done here as an employee since I've been with you, and I also enjoy and get along well with my colleagues. As such, I want you to increase my pay from $10 an hour to $15 an hour starting tomorrow. If you do this, you get to keep a valuable employee, and then you do not also have to train somebody new if I end up having to leave for a higher paying job. Now let's go over objective effectiveness skills. These include mindful, appear confident, and negotiate. The M in Man skills stands for mindful. Now you practice being mindful by paying close attention to what is going on around you as you interact with others. For example, you want to stay mindful to tone of voice, body posture, and facial expressions. And these include your own tone of voice, body posture, and facial expressions, as well as that of the other person or persons that you are communicating with. Now, the A in man skills stands for appear confident. Now, you appear confident by presenting yourself in a manner that conveys confidence. For example, you want to maintain eye contact with those you're talking to. Make sure to speak in a clear, authoritative manner. Dress professionally and groom accordingly for the situation. Now, the M in man skills stands for negotiate. Now, as you set about negotiating, you want to ask yourself, what is the minimum that I'm willing to accept in this situation? You also want to come up with a plan B or counteroffer before you approach the situation, just in case the person cannot give you what you want or need. For example, if your employer is having doubts about giving you a pay raise, you might suggest an employee review to evaluate your work performance. Or you could just suggest raising your pay to $7.75 an hour and then increasing it to $5 an hour after a month of probationary review. Now, the V in Give Skills stands for validate others. Now, this means that you acknowledge the other person's thoughts, feelings, and point of view in the situation. For example, you might validate to your boss that, hey, it's not easy to be an employer. Or, I realize that you have a lot of things to take into consideration before you determine pay raises. So, looking at an overview of your man objective effectiveness skills script, remember to be mindful to tone of voice, body posture, and facial expressions. Appear confident by maintaining eye contact, speaking in a clear, authoritative manner, dressing professionally, and grooming accordingly. And remember that you can negotiate. So, using the pay scenario, you might suggest an employee review to evaluate your work performance, or an initial pay raise of $2.75 an hour that increases to $5 an hour after a month and a probationary review. Next, we're going to learn relationship effectiveness skills. These include gentle, interested, validate others, and easy manner. So the G in Give Skills stands for gentle. Gentle is about being gentle in your manner of communicating. For example, you may want to maintain a relaxed body posture and facial expressions. Smile warmly at the other person or persons you're communicating with when appropriate. And recognize appropriate customs for greeting and exiting interpersonal exchanges. So the I in Give Skills stands for interested. Now, to practice interested, you do things that show the other person you are interested in what he or she is saying. For example, you might nod affirmatively while the other person speaks. Ask questions to verify important points. And as always, give the other person your full attention. This means putting down any smartphones or computers, and telling other people to wait if they're trying to get your attention and things like that. So the E in give skills stands for easy manner. Now this means to be relaxed and cordial in your manner of communication. For example, you might adopt a willing posture. This means keeping your arms uncrossed and open, kind of leaning forward but respecting people's personal space, maintaining eye contact, and nodding affirmatively. Speak in a casual, respectful tone. So even if it is a formal situation, you want to speak in a manner that conveys that you see the other person as an equal. That is to say, you're communicating them to like they're a normal person with radical genuineness. And remember not to rush the interaction. As you're going through your script, it might get easy to just kind of, run through it if you've practiced it a bunch of times. But you want to make sure to use natural pauses. Let the person, ask you questions and you answer by, being mindful to keep the conversation moving in a manner that is comfortable and flowing naturally. So looking at your give relationship effectiveness skills script, remember that that gentle is maintaining a relaxed body posture and facial expressions, smiling warmly when appropriate, and recognizing appropriate customs for greeting, exiting, interpersonal exchanges. Show that you're interested to the other person by nodding affirmatively when the other person speaks, asking questions to verify important points, giving the other person your full attention. Validate others using the pay scenario by saying things like, "It is not easy to be an employer, and I understand that you have a lot of things to take into consideration before determining pay raises." And maintain an easy manner by adopting a willing posture, speaking in a casual, respectful tone, and by not rushing the interaction. Now let's learn self-respect effectiveness skills. These include fair, apology-free, stick to values, and truthfulness. The F in F skills stands for fair. This means that you want to make sure that what you are asking for is fair and beneficial to all parties involved. For example, using the pay scenario, you might ask yourself, does your work merit a $5 an hour pay increase? Or, based on what you know about your employer's financial status, is it reasonable to ask for a pay raise? Now the A in FAST skills stands for apology-free. This means do not unnecessarily apologize for what you want or need. For example, using the pay scenario, you want to make sure to not say things like, "I'm sorry to bother you with my request," if you believe that you honestly deserve a pay raise. Now the S in FAST skills stands for stick to values. This means that you want to know what your values are before you interact with the other person, and you want to stick to these values throughout. For example, using the pay scenario, you might say, "I know that you need to maximize profits, and because my time is valuable, I cannot afford to work overtime without an appropriate increase in my pay." So your value in this case would be getting paid fairly for your time. And by sticking to this value, you're asserting yourself in asking for getting paid overtime. Now the T in FAST skills stands for truthfulness. So in applying truthfulness, you do not want to compromise the truth in your course of action toward getting what you want or need. For example, using the pay scenario, lying about your job performance can work against you if you say you have been on time consistently for work and your time card shows discrepancies. Ultimately, when it all comes down to it, the truth always comes out sooner or later. So it's always a good policy just to be as truthful as you can in any sort of communication situation where you're interacting interpersonally. So let's look at your FAST self-respect effectiveness skills script overview. Remember to be fair. Ask yourself, does your work merit a $5 an hour pay increase using the pay scenario? And based on what you know about your employer's financial status, is it reasonable to ask for a raise? Stay apology free. Do not say things like, I'm sorry to bother you with my request, if you believe you honestly deserve a pay raise or whatever it is that you're asking for. Stick to values. Using the pay scenario, you might have the value of getting paid fairly. So you might say something like, I know that you need to maximize profits, and because my time is valuable, I can't afford to work overtime without an appropriate increase in pay. And always maintain truthfulness in any sort of communication. So in the case of the pay raise, lying about something like your job performance can work against you if you say that you've been on time consistently for work and your time card shows discrepancies. Now, to review the interpersonal effectiveness skills we learned in this session, first we went over objective effectiveness skills. These include describe, express, assert, reinforce, mindful, appear confident, and negotiate. And remember, objective effectiveness refers to describing the facts of the situation non-judgmentally. Then we went on to relationship effectiveness skills. These include gentle, interested, validate, and easy manner. And relationship effectiveness refers to skills that you use to communicate to others effectively. Then we went over self-respect effectiveness skills. These included fair, apology-free, stick to values, and truthfulness. And these skills refer to the skills that you would use to communicate respect for yourself in interactions with others. Now that you've gone over all of the interpersonal effectiveness skills, I hope you learned something and that you'll join me in the next video in skills training session. Thank you, and stay mindful.